What actually makes a knight, well, a knight? Is it the gleaming armor, the noble steed, the mandatory tragic backstory? Or is it simply the ability to hit you with a 4-piece combo that sends your controller through the wall? Today, we are answering one of the most important questions in Soulsborne history. Who is the most knightly boss in the entire FromSoft catalog? Now, before you start typing in the comments, no kings are allowed. Royalty gets an automatic disqualification. Sorry Gwen, sorry Old King Allant, sorry Bert Ivory King, sorry General Radon and Leonard. We are honoring the hardworking professionals of the blade here, not the ones sitting on thrones while everyone else is doing the fighting. Furthermore, empty suits of armor are also disqualified. As imposing as the Dragon Slayer armor, Iron Golem, and Heolster are, a knight needs to be, well, a being. We are looking for soul, discipline, and purpose, not just animated metallurgy. To keep this list completely objective and definitely not biased, we need a rigorous testing framework. Wearing metal plate doesn't instantly make you a knight. Otherwise, half the hollows in Undead Burg would qualify. Here is our historically informed, fantasy-spiced knight checklist. To be considered a knight worthy of their rank, one needs to get a passing score on most of these criteria. Some of the historical foundations. Mounted capability. A true knight is historically defined by cavalry roots. They either ride a proper horse into battle or command a creature that is capable of war transport. A chivalry code. Words like honor, duty, and loyalty must define their character. At minimum, they cannot just be a mindless feral beast running on instinct. Martial mastery. Real martial technique needs to be here. We are looking for forms, footwork, and tactical discipline, not just a huge guy flailing around a tree trunk indiscriminately. Spiritual/divine oath. Medieval knighthood was deeply tied to holy orders, faith, and a higher calling. Contenders must serve a cause greater than themselves. Distinct silhouette. A knight must be recognizable from 200 yards away across a foggy battlefield. Standard issue grunt armor will not suffice. Fantasy elements. A legendary named weapon. Bonus points if the weapon lore can cause emotional distress in people looking at it. A monster or dragon slayer. If you have not slain a mythological terror, are you even trying to be a knight? An active quest. Knights don't just stand around behind a dusty fog wall waiting for tourists. They have a mission to accomplish. Mythic legacy. This character should have something in the way of hymns, songs, item descriptions, and statues dedicated in their name. Damsel in distress. Protecting someone, a liege, or a doomed kingdom yields massive bonus points here. With the rule set, let's look at those who fell short of the glory. Dishonorable mentions. Failings from Demon Souls. Once a proud knight and archer, now a cowardly mass of spineless slimes hiding behind shields. Disqualified on aesthetics and a lack of courage. Vort and the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, Dark Souls 3. Outrider knights who succumbed to Sullivan's eye rings. They are now feral, beastly predators. The Dancer leans more closely to a high-fashion assassin anyway. Putrescent Knight, Elden Ring. It rides a malformed horse, but it's literally a congealed slushy of dead flesh and liquid rot. This isn't a knight, it's a biohazard. Ludwig, the Holy Blade, Blooodborne. A most tragic case. In his golden era, Ludwig was the absolute apex of holy knighthood. But for most of the boss fight that we see in-game, he is an asymmetric monstrosity screaming in a pile of corpses. Regaining his sanity and sword technique mid-fight earns him eternal respect, but his horse face, well, takes away a lot of points that he could have gotten. Honorable mentions. The real knights, but they barely missed the cut. Dragon Rider, Dark Souls 2. I mean, they claim to ride dragons, yet they bring 0 dragons to their arenas. Plus, the one in Hyde's Tower frequently defeats himself by falling into a puddle of water, so not very heroic. Armored Warrior, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Unmatched armor durability and absolute dedication to protecting his son, Robert, who may or may not be alive. However, fighting right next to a broken balcony while wearing hundreds of pounds of steel displays questionable spatial awareness. Tower Knight and Penetrator Demon's Souls. Majestic presence, incredible armor, and absolute loyalty to their king Alan. The real versions are long dead. The entities we fight in-game are merely demon forged imitations lacking true knighthood. As a Demon's Souls enthusiast, it pains me to disqualify these two. Tree Sentinels, Elden Ring. They hit every historical requirement: mounts, armor, divine oaths, and martial skill. However, jumping a freshly revived Tarnished, who doesn't even have shoes, violates every known code of chivalry. They also do not have much going for them in terms of lore, so it's not really worth putting them much higher. Knights Cavalry, Elden Ring. On paper, these Dark Riders check almost every historical box. They ride actual war horses, patrol roads of the lands between, and enforce order with disciplined mounted halberd and flail techniques. However, they fall short of the top 10 because they are a repeated field encounter rather than a singular legendary figure. Without a personal name, a unique tragic backstory, or a grand boss arena, they end up feeling more like an elite unit of highway patrolmen than a mythic knightly champion. Now, for the top 10 ranked knight contenders. Number 10, Looking Glass Knight, Dark Souls 2. Standing alone at the end of the rain-drenched King's Passage, the Looking Glass Knight is a pure, ceremonial figure. He checks nearly every box on the list: an imposing steel silhouette, mastery over thunder-infused sword strikes, and absolute loyalty to his fallen kingdom. What truly cements his spot, however, is his legendary mirror shield, a holy relic that allows him to summon squires and even other players directly into his arena to fight by his side. He may lack a horse, but the right summoned helpers can carry him to victory. He sets the benchmark for the rest of the list. Number 9, The Pursuer, Dark Souls 2. No dialogue, no grand speeches, just pure, unadulterated dedication to the hunt of cursed individuals. The Pursuer rides in on the talons of a giant eagle, floats through the air out of pure spite, and carries a cursed greatsword, famous for its hitboxes that transcend dimensions. He doesn't need a tragic backstory or a deep reason for his actions. His entire oath is simply square up on sight, undead. Number 8, Fume Knight Raime, Dark Souls 2. Raime checks every single box for the tragic fantasy knight. Once a loyal captain to King Vendrick, he was branded as a traitor after an illogical duel with his brother-in-arms Velstadt. Instead of giving up, he traveled to the Broom Tower, embraced Nadalia's dark flame, and forged a new purpose of protecting his new lady spawned from the abyss. Armed with a longsword and an ultra greatsword so iconic, it broke reality and appeared in Dark Souls 3. Raime is the ultimate battle-hardened veteran. Number 7, Garl Vinland, Demon's Souls. If devotion had a name, it would be Garl Vinland. Stationed in the plague-choked Valley of Defilement, Garl stands quietly between you and his maiden Astraea. He doesn't attack you on sight, he simply warns you to turn back. He wields Bramd, a massive ancestral giant-slaying great hammer, uses divine miracles, and defends his maiden to his dying breath. He doesn't have a horse, but standing in waist-deep infested swamp water while fighting off a demon slayer makes you more of a fortress than a man.
Go forth, Garl Vinland. May you be unharmed.
Number 6, Fulgor, the Darkdrift Knight, Nightreign. Fulgor completely skips the need for having a horse by being a divine centaur. He is the cavalry, a devout warrior who prayed to ancient gods for holy smiting powers. His story takes a dark turn when he is betrayed by his order and loses an arm. Rather than succumbing to despair, his unyielding faith allows him to purge the corruption within himself, manifest a brand new arm made out of pure willpower, and he can generate a divine dual-bladed polearm like some sort of holy Darth Maul. Number 5. Sir Alon, Dark Souls 2. Sir Alon brings pure martial discipline to the list, an Eastern warrior who helped the old Iron King establish his dominion. Alon trained an entire legion of knights in his image, and his fight is a masterclass in footwork, lightning-fast thrusts, and mutual respect. If you defeat him without taking a single hit, he performs seppuku out of respect for your superior skill. That is a level of commitment to martial honor that few bosses can ever dream of matching. Number 4. Crucible Knights, Elden Ring. Siluria, Ordovis, and their 16 brethren represent the absolute pinnacle of an elite martial order. Serving Lord Godfrey in the age before the Erdtree, these knights harness primordial aspects of the Crucible itself. Now, with their lord banished by Queen Marika, they travel the world seeking a greater calling. They don't flail around in an uncoordinated fashion. They walk towards you with a terrifying patience. They block your best attacks and sprout golden wings and dragon tails the moment you attempt to heal. They even use different Crucible animals to attack you to help stand out from each other, forging their own unique identities. They are the gold standard of heavy infantry. Number 3. Dragon Slayer Ornstein, Dark Souls 1. Ornstein is the quintessential fantasy knight archetype. Captain of Lord Gwyn's 4 knights, wielder of the lightning crossspear, slayer of dragons, and the guardian of the Sun Princess. With his lion-headed golden armor and iconic red plume, a plume so beloved that From Software was forced to patch it into Dark Souls 3 after player outcry. Ornstein looks every bit the legendary champion. He loses a few points for his lack of a horse, but using Executioner's Smile as a makeshift battering ram certainly makes an impression. Number 2. Slave Knight Gale, Dark Souls 3. Gale started as literal cannon fodder, a slave knight forced into joining hopeless missions during ancient wars against long-forgotten monstrosities. Yet, through pure, unadulterated willpower, he survived into the literal end of time. Armed with a rusty executioner's sword, an automatic crossbow, and a cape that carries him with the power of dark magic, Gale searched the undying world for the Dark Soul fragments to help his painter niece forge a new home for humanity. He has fought through ages of decay, lost his mind to the dark pigment, but still fought on. A knight not defined by his title, but by his endless sacrifice. Number 1. Knight Artorias the Abysswalker, Dark Souls 1. There was really never any doubt. Artorias is the absolute gold standard of From Software knighthood. He has it all. The iconic blue and silver armor, an incomparable mastery of the greatsword, a tragic mission to conquer the abyss, and a legendary companion in Sif the Great Grey Wolf. When faced with ultimate darkness, Artorias gave up his magical shield to protect his young wolf, breaking his arm in the process. Even when hollowed, corrupted by dark forces, and fighting with a single arm, his swordplay still remains unmatched. His mythic legacy inspired entire covenants, built a real-world cult following, and reshaped the lore of future FromSoft games. Eventually, his legacy became so massive, he transcended his own game to land in Nightreign. Artorias isn't just a boss, he is the soul of knighthood itself. From mounted highwaymen to tragic legends holding back the void, From Software has redefined what it means to be a knight in gaming, blending historical martial realism with sweeping mythic tragedy. Now, I turn the battlefield over to you. Which bosses do you believe most represent knighthood in From Software games? Should From Software expand on mounted combat in future iterations in games? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more Soulsborne breakdowns. And remember, if your favorite knight bosses doesn't have at least 3 layers of emotional trauma, From Software isn't finished with writing their backstory. Until next time, keep your shields and swords raised high. Also, stick around for a quick bonus feature showing a real-life recreation of the Fume Knight Raime's moveset. Hope you enjoy.